everyone. So welcome to Houston Latina Pulse. And we're back today with another interview. And one of our main goals for this show is to get to know people in our community who are doing just exciting and new things. And so today I have someone who is a really good friend of mine. We've known each other for a really long time, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. Her name is Kathy Artiga. Yes.
Yes.
And so Kathy and I have been friends for a really long time, and she does a lot of different things. And so I want people to get to know you and to know more about you. So tell us your name, who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
So as Connie said, Kathy Artiga, but I go by Kat because when I used to do a lot of community outreach, people like recognized me, but they couldn't remember my name. So I ended up introducing myself and saying, Kat. They're like, Kat. And I'm like, yeah, like, meow. So it stuck.
Yeah.
So it's been Kat for a long time. And I love it when Siri messes up and says K and I'm doing a text. So anyways, I go by Kat. All right, where to start? So I went to school for criminal justice with a minor in psychology, did nothing in the criminal justice field, ended up in oil and gas for 14 plus years. Yeah. COVID hit and decided to go into real estate. And we all know as a new real estate agent, that can be hard. So then I got a good opportunity to go work for a nonprofit called Family Houston. And that became more of my full-time job. So I've been there since 2021 and have just grown to love everything that they do for the Houston community.
Mm-hmm. And then you were born and raised in Houston?
Born and raised in Houston, yep. Went to school in the SWAT.
And A-Leaf.
For all those A-Leaf folks, shout out. But yeah.
And then your background is you're Salvadorian.
Salvadoreña.
Yeah.
But people always say you're the most Mexican Salvadorian that I know.
So I know that about a lot of A-Leaf Salvadorian people, that everybody thinks they're Mexican. So one of my friends once told me, and I don't know if it's true, but that Salvadorians somehow always marry Mexicans.
So my daughter is half Mexican, half Salvadorian.
Yeah.
I guess that is a thing. But, I kind of feel that Mexicans love Salvadorians too.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Un poquito de la tóxica. So, whatever.
It has to go both ways,
they
right?
They like the challenge in life.
So, and we've known each other for a really long time.
Yeah.
We met through my ex-husband and his family. You were friends with them since when did you know them? Junior high?
Middle school. Yeah. So many, many moons ago.
Yeah.
And that's how we met.
Yeah, we met and then we stayed friends through everything. So I love that.
Yes.
So another thing that we want to talk about today is what you're working on, right? So what are you currently working on that is making you feel excited?
Okay. So I've always wanted to do a podcast.
Everyone.
Yes. But I wanted to be more out, in the social media realm in the sense, but I've had people, is how I'll say it, kind of hold me back without me even realizing that I was being held back. So in this new season that I'm in now, I just have this new sense of worth and freedom and like, I don't want anything to stop me.
Right.
So if you're coming in my life, you're either going to help me grow in it or you're just not welcome. So I am working on a podcast where it's going to be a lot about, it's going to be the fun side of me, where, what we eat, us dancing, whatever it is that we're getting into. But I'm also going to touch like really hard subjects, with mental health, relationships and dating, family, and even some sexual abuse. But I want it to be a mixture. And like the goal in that is if someone listens to my podcast and takes anything away, whether they feel empowered, whether they feel strong enough to speak up, whether they're strong enough to leave a relationship that they need to leave or shoot their shot, right, in a relationship. Like, that's all I want to do. I've always had a heart for helping people, which I think that's another reason why I got into real estate. So that's my main goal in the podcast. So it's in the works with your help. Right. We did a session, a whiteboard session, which was phenomenal. So yeah, I'm being held accountable. So I'm a little behind on a couple of things, but that's what's making me excited right now.
And I think because of the season that you're in, right, you're talking about how just that, like you're kind of, I think whenever we go through certain changes, it kind of makes you reflect and go inward, right? Absolutely. To try to figure out where you're at and where you're going kind of thing. And so for you, I think that with this new season coming up, it's going to be something that's maybe a challenge, but also important for your own growth.
Right.
Right. And so with that, with me helping you kind of put this together, we talked a little bit about mental health. And it's also kind of the space that you work in with your full-time job, the nonprofit that you work with. And I was able to go to one of your events, to a luncheon, and just the impact and everything that y'all are doing in the community as far as being a resource is really important. And so June is Men's Mental Health Month.
Yes.
And so in the topics that you're trying to talk about on your podcast, mental health is a big one.
Absolutely.
And you definitely want to touch on the impact and how the Latino community handles it.
Absolutely.
And so what is that kind of looking like for you right now as far as a topic as to how mental health is approached in the Latino community?
Okay, so please don't hate me for saying this, but I think we all need to realize, although Latinos are badasses, the Latino culture can be very, very toxic.
Right.
In the sense that women, we're raised to like, don't cry because that shows weakness. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is happening, it's going to make you stronger. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of taught not to sit in our feelings. And so we kind of bury it down. Mm-hmm. And for men especially, right? Mm-hmm. It's very unheard of for like a man to be they get shamed for crying, right?
Right.
And regardless of how you want to release, well, as long as it's not violent, but how you need to release those feelings or sit in those feelings, I feel like in the Latino culture, like we're not taught that. We're not taught that it's a safe space. I mean, even me, like my daughter is in counseling, I'm in counseling, and I think anyone should be in counseling, whether you're going through it or you're just living life. Mm-hmm. I had to learn to break how I was raised because she was bullied very young and was dealing with things her own way. Luckily, I got her into counseling, but it was very hard for me to understand the space that she was in. And I'm like, what do you know about being sad? Go clean your room. Mm-hmm. But that's what we're told.
That's what we're told.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to me to bring awareness, and to I've told my mom too, she's like, I think too, in the older generation, they're like, I'm too old. This is how I am. No, it's not. It's never too late to change. Right. It's our own stubbornness, but you have to be open to that. So this is why it's really important for me, because I'm like, no, let's break that. Let's start a new cycle of being okay to talk about our feelings, to sit in our feelings, whether you're a man or a woman or however you identify, and let's work through that. Let's help each other grow and however that looks. Yeah. Especially when you hear, of people committing suicide, or it's happened in my own family. So it's a very, very sensitive, but I'm very passionate about that, because if we can save one person, and just with this, how many more people, it trickles down, you know what I mean? How many more people can we touch and help grow?
And it is just about opening up that space, right, for our kids. I'm also first generation, and when it came to my kids, especially after my divorce, right? That's, I think, when I always take mental health serious. I went through postpartum and I had so many other issues during that time period. But with my kids, it became even more evident that I needed to take it very serious during the divorce because they were going through a lot. I did this one exercise with my therapist where she makes you chronologically write out all of the traumas that you've experienced at different age levels, right? And so I'm going through my page by myself, right? Writing everything, of course, a full cry, sob, what the hell is going on? I ran out of space and I flipped the page over and I'm like, this is just the first 10 years of my life. So in thinking about that and in thinking about our kids, I'm like, it is so hard. Back then, with no social media, with no cell phones, with no this, no that, it was already hard enough. Imagine now, right? And so I always keep that very much in the front of my brain when it comes to my kids. And my daughter, Camila, who is very outspoken, she will always tell me exactly how she feels. She'll tell me, she'll be like, you said X, Y, Z, and now you're acting like this. And I'm like, you're right. She keeps me very accountable, and it's good, right? Sometimes she hurts my feelings. Sometimes she makes me mad. I'm like, dude, she
pulls, but at the same time, you're like, damn,
but they're right.
You're holding me accountable,
but they're being real, And so for me, definitely to be in that space for myself to be able to go to counseling, go to therapy, not necessarily fix anything, but make it better.
Yeah.
That healing process, make it a little bit easier. And in return, be able to make that process easy for them. I think that for me is huge.
Well, absolutely. Because there's, I don't know. Maybe if people that have gone to counseling, maybe their counselors have talked about, but there's like this twisted way of thinking, and there's and you can call yourself out. Like, we go through these rabbit holes of like, imposter syndrome, or like, we can't believe in ourselves, but everybody else sees our worth, And so I think it's just very helpful to have those resources, but especially in the Latino community, because like, again, we've learned to suppress it. And like you said, you'll sit with, your therapist, your counselor, and sometimes I'll show up and I can feel the knot in my throat. Like, I'm about to cry and I don't even know why. And we'll sit there and I've told her, like, I hate crying. She goes, you've cried almost at every session that you've been. I said, I know, and I hate it. Like, I don't like to show that side of me, because you usually see the fun, bubbly, outgoing, eating, dancing, laughing, Kat. And it's being vulnerable is very hard. So it's just really important for me to.
But it's also how we were raised, right? Right. Like, my mom was my grandmother, like, you don't have time to be sad. Like, we got stuff to do, stop.
Ponte a limpiar. Ponte a hacer tortillas.
Yeah. Like, oh, you're not sad. You're just bored. Right? You're not depressed. You're just bored. I'm like, no, I have these real feelings. I really am depressed. Of course, now I can identify it and talk about it. Yeah. But back then, you're just being bullied by your parents and your family. You're not sad. You're just bored.
It's funny you say that, because I went through a really, really dark path. And I don't think many people will know this, so I'm about to be very vulnerable right now. I went through a very dark path when Alyssa was like 2. I'm not going to say too much about her dad, but it was very toxic. And I allowed the control, right? Where I thought she would just be better off with her dad and me not here. Yeah. And I had made up my mind. And I went to go do a community outreach the next day, because I was like, what do I have to lose? Right. My mind was set, ya para mañana, whatever. I'm going to go do this one last good deed. And it was a very pivotal moment that I was like, damn, there's so many things that are worse that people are going through. Yeah. So I stuck it out, and thank God I did, because obviously tables turned and things happened, where I am my daughter's biggest cheerleader, supporter. Yeah. Even though she has her dad, I am mom and dad too. Yeah. So, I think, again, because she was very young, I didn't have anyone to turn to, anyone to talk to. Like, if it wasn't for that community outreach. Yeah. We probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then, of course, like, for you to think that support then now has kind of turned for Alyssa, right? And like her story and everything you guys have gone through, it's really important, because it's real. Yeah. It's a real feeling to be in those feelings. Yeah. And not be like our parents or our grandparents who are like, that's not real. Like, you can't possibly be thinking anything horrible like that.
And the also crazy thing is, when a family is going through something, like, no se habla de eso. Right. And so, like, in our family, I lost a cousin back in 2017, I believe. And when I started finding out what was going on, right, like his mental health and stuff, my first thing was like, why didn't y'all talk to me?
Right. Why didn't anybody say anything?
Like, why? And that has always stuck in my head, right? So I'm just like, we need to break those walls down. Like, they need to know there has to be someone in your family, outside. It doesn't matter. Like, there has to be a safe space where you have this opportunity. Que vengan con las puertas abiertas. Like, we are here and we can help. Yeah. Let me help you get the resources. Like, whatever it is. Because it could be like the smallest thing of being bullied in school for someone, to whether you're going to come out or not to your family, to you're going through a divorce, you've lost a child. Like, it could be so many things, but you need that safe space. Yeah. So that's why it's going to be a big topic in the podcast.
Yeah. And I know it's like so heavy, and because I know you personally, like, it's really hard to like think of you in that space. But I mean, when you started telling me what you want to do with the podcast, I was like, oh my God, this is like real stuff, right? Yeah. But it's also very relatable. Like, people, I think, are really going to appreciate that side of you. Not so much because you're not, like, you're human. You have to feel all the feelings. But I think because not a lot of people are talking about it the way you want to talk about it. And so that's going to be really... really important, really
I'm excited and nervous, but more excited than the nervous. Yeah,
definitely. So as far as that space goes in the community of like resources, what kind of things do you think Houston needs more of in order to support people in mental health?
So I think the Latino community, like, I'm pretty sure Houston Latina Collaborative, we can collaborate and really reach out to the Hispanic community, whether it's like letting them know like Family Houston's here, whether you have insurance, whether you're self-pay, or all the other, I know Legacy Community does stuff too. So like there's so many organizations that can help. But again, when you have first generation parents or just people that have just came to the country, have been here, and have become citizens, again, they're older. And so they're not going to ask for help. Like it's very hard for them. So I think about pushing and putting the word out there like, hey, this is, and putting it in Spanish, right? Because we do have people that talk both English and Spanish, but a lot of the community feels more comfortable talking in Spanish. So like putting it out there, pushing it out there and letting them know these are resources you have. Like don't let anything stop you, whether it's money, whether it's you don't want to come to whether it's transportation, like whatever it is. I feel like in the Latino community, we really need to be pushing that awareness and breaking down those walls. Like that's what I really, really hope to see us do.
And so I know this is super heavy, so we're going to try to make it a little fun. So what is on your like social media side? Tell us one thing you're trying to like grow social media wise and like what you're doing different.
All right. So on my social media wise, with my real estate, I was very just heavy, like showing you houses, showing you what I was, getting into.
All the normal stuff.
Like the 3.3 million house that I helped, with. Anyways, no. And then I was like, it's me, it's a side of me. So I was like, I am going to just start showing the other side of me, whether it's me out, having tacos with you or me out dancing or me out, touring the city as with friends, or whether it's like my healing process of, growing and being okay in the space that I'm in, right? And learning to let go and realizing as soon as I decided to close that door, all these doors started opening and I'm like, damn, I should have done this sooner. So I'm trying to show a little bit of it all now and just people are probably like, holy crap, my friends that know and they see that I'm out there like something's going on, but we love it. I've gotten a lot of the happiness looks great on you. You're glowing. What's going on? You look so happy. Are you talking to anyone? And I'm like, okay, guys, sounds great. But I'm just trying to show like both sides. Like, let me show you my professional side, but also let me show you like, this is who I am. So it's been fun. It's been fun trying to navigate what to show, trying not to overshow. But yeah, that's what I'm kind of working on right now.
Yeah, because social media can be sometimes like you think you know someone, right, based on the little bit of things that they post or just a little bit of content that you see from them. But there's so much more to people and to you. And so you being as genuine and as real as you can on social media is very important. But definitely for you, again, because I know you personally and I've kind of seen, the last few months, everything going on. It's really important because I think people will, again, just appreciate you being who you are and to get to learn more about you and then relate to that space, right?
Yeah. I've had a lot of people was like, I would have never known.
Right.
Like, I cannot believe it. Like, wow. I think sometimes it's still kind of like, oh, people are really paying attention.
Right.
I guess I really never thought about it that way because I'm just like, oh, I'm just a little fly on the wall, right? But people will say is like, no, you walk into the room and like we can tell what kind of mood you're in. You walk into a room and you'll light up the room, and I'm just like, okay. So they're helping me with like really valuing what I can bring to the table and really learning what I can. But yeah, I've had a lot of people like, amiga, me estás dando la energía para hacer lo que tengo que hacer. Like, you're giving me the confidence that I need. And I'm like, bet, like that's great. Hopefully I can feel the same thing you're feeling,
Yeah, well, because it kind of happens like, it's reciprocal, right? Like if other people feel your energy, then you can kind of pull energy from them and feel better about things. So I love that.
So it's been an interesting season.
Yeah, no, I love it. So what is one thing that you want to say that maybe we didn't get to talk about?
That wasn't on the list.
It wasn't on the list.
No. What is one thing?
Just advice that you would tell somebody who's trying to like, or in your season and trying to do something and grow something.
So don't stop yourself. Don't stop yourself from making a decision you should have made or need to make out of fear. And trust the people who are around you on the outside to give you their 2 cents as much as you don't want to hear it.
Right.
Because I think we stop ourselves from listening to that because they're right. And we already know the decision we have to make, but we don't want to make that decision because it's hard, because it's scary, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So like allow the feedback, but also guard what they tell you as well. Because people sometimes, because they love you and they're upset to see you,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're crying, happy, stuck in a bubble, whatever it is, that can sometimes skew what your thoughts are as well.
Right.
So like kind of don't let people talk to you, but at the same time, make sure like you kind of sit in that. Again, sitting in feelings.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And just kind of being receptive and open to all of that kind of feedback, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's good or bad, because like you said, sometimes like people are going to tell you things and it's going to hurt your feelings. But you know what? Sometimes it's true. And sometimes you should move on and do other things.
And take the chance.
Yeah.
Take the chance. Take the risk. Like, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you've already hit rock bottom, you already know you can get out of it. So why not take the chance? Why not take the risk? Whether it's a new job, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a business, whether it's a relationship, like what's stopping you? And I know fear is a lot of it, but push through, because you never know what the blessing at the end, whether it's successful or failure, you don't know what that blessing at the end will be.
Or even through the journey, right? Sometimes you're going through it and you don't realize it and you don't see it, but then you look back, it's like, oh my God, that was really good. Like I learned a lot, or I gained a lot, or I met new people, like whatever that is. And that in itself is a big thing.
And I think I called you one time when I was like boohooing again. Y'all don't see that side of me, but I was like, can barely breathe. And you're like, I hear you, but look at everything that you learned throughout those years. And I was like, okay.
Because even I think
the mindset.
Right. And that's what we were talking about is we were during that time, I remember it's about the years, right? The amount of time frame that sometimes we're like, I was in this space for 10 years and look at all the time I wasted or lost. And it's like, it's not really a loss, right? Like if you look at it, like, what did you learn? What did you gain from it? Right. Like there's so much. Yes, of course, there was bad or not toxic, not good stuff. But at the end of the day, there could have been a lot of good that came from it.
Right.
And you see it on the other side, not when you're in it.
Right. Yeah. I'm definitely seeing it on the other side. So yeah.
Awesome. Oh my God. Thank you so much. I definitely could like keep going. But also for your podcast, like I feel like you're going to have a lot of content, a lot of good stuff to talk about. So it's good for us to just be like, we're good.
This is your little sneak.
Yeah. So tell us where we can contact you, how we can connect with you.
Okay. So on TikTok and on social and on Instagram, it's at Kathy, Kathy, Artiga, Artiga, Realty. Both Instagram and TikTok. And you can just follow me there. TikTok has probably the more of the
fun stuff.
My real estate has all of the crazy stuff that real estate agents want to tell everybody. Like, no, we're not going to work for free.
My boss says, did you know that Instagram stories has all the spicy stuff? I'm like, yeah, it does. All those stories have, because, nobody watches your stories, right? Like it's hidden. And so people don't really go, like people who don't know, they just watch your feed. And then the stories, I'm like, yeah, don't watch my stories. My stories are spicy.
I'm like, no, watch my stories.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. This was so good. So you guys make sure to follow her and then follow up for her podcast.
Till next time. Bye.